I think this is not only obviously the biggest fight of Terence Crawford's career, but in a career that's filled with almost nothing but huge fights, this is the biggest fight of Canelo Alvarez's career.
A lot stronger, and I think he's going to have better endurance. Not being able to boil himself down like that, and even though it is a huge jump, I think we lose sight of the fact of how much he had to boil down and how gaunt he looked at 140.
You said you don't think, or you don't look into the weight difference. Why?
So you know how to box. When you're as skillful as Terence Crawford is, weight don't really matter much.
There is a serious problem with Terence Crawford's most recent training video, according to boxing experts. Gareth clarified that although initially believing Crawford would defeat Canelo Alvarez, he has since changed his mind. He now leans in Canelo's direction as the battle draws near, anticipating that Crawford would take blows he has never seen before. This alteration accentuates the mounting skepticism regarding Crawford's capacity to manage Canelo's influence and endure at the greatest level.
A great chin. But in terms of if you want to go skill for skill, especially the recent version of Canelo, who's had to turn into a seek and destroy guy, who had to learn as his career went on to cut off the ring and not just follow guys around. Like Lara, Trout, Floyd, he followed those guys around. He had trouble because he's really a natural counterpuncher who wants you to come to him. But in recent years at super middleweight, he's gotten really good at cutting off the ring. Again, last fight notwithstanding. So as an overall suite of skills, recent vintage, it's been Crawford. Mm-hmm. But Canelo also is skilled and has a larger skeleton than Crawford. No matter what they weigh, Canelo's the bigger guy.
Yeah. Might start to have trouble as early as the 4th round. The primary cause of this is the abrupt change in body size and the additional muscle mass, which could cause him to move more slowly. The trainer claims that because Crawford has never fought at this specific weight previously, there will be significant modifications needed. Even the most experienced boxer may feel heavy, lose energy rapidly, and become frustrated early on if they are carrying more weight than they should. Crawford might exhaust himself before making it to the middle rounds if he is unable to regulate his pace in these circumstances.
Like, where would you rank this fight out of your top 3 to 5 of all the boxing fights you've called, you've experienced, you've watched?
In terms of the magnitude of the
magnitude,
fight?
Yeah.
I mean, of the fights that I've called ringside, it might turn out to be number 1. Mm-hmm. I've done Pacquiao fights, I've done Mayweather fights, I've done Anthony Joshua against Klitschko, those are big fights, but this will, listen, because of Netflix, this will be the most watched fight, championship fight, in almost 50 years. This is going to be because Muhammad Ali fought Leon Spinks in the rematch in '78, and they did 90 million TV sets, 90 million. And since then, what has even come close? The biggest fights have all been on pay-per-view, and they do 2 million buys, oh my God, 4 million buys, Mayweather Pacquiao. As I keep saying, if 5 people per TV set watch, that's 20 million people. This is gonna do multiples of that. So, so when you look at it from like a commercial point of view, it'll easily be the biggest boxing event I've ever covered.
There are rumors that Terence Crawford may have suffered a shoulder injury while getting ready for the fight with Canelo Alvarez. Even though there has been no formal confirmation, the prospect has alarmed fans and observers. Given that Crawford's career has always been meticulously timed with only 1 or 2 fights annually, this development is particularly concerning. He was able to rest, recover, and get into the ring with all of his vigor because to that routine. This time, the rapid turnaround hasn't given him that luxury, so any residual pain might persist into fight night. An injury to the shoulder is not something that can be overlooked in boxing. Shoulder health is essential for almost every facet of a fighter's skill set, including blocking strikes, regulating distance, and delivering quick, accurate punches.
I want to bring up the first member of our broadcast team. He is the best boxing analyst in the sport. Ladies and gentlemen, Max Kellerman.
All right, so I know you guys are excited about this fight, but I don't think you understand what a big deal it is. This is a perfect storm, a perfect storm. First of all, Turki Al-Sheikh, we're lucky he happens to be a boxing fan. None of this happens if he doesn't happen to be a boxing fan. It's just none of us are here. Nick Khan, the best in the business. Dana White. Dana White is the greatest combat sports promoter of my lifetime. And it's his first ever boxing promotion. So that's who's behind what you're gonna see. You know who's the best pound for pound fighter in the world? The most recent one. Bud Crawford. Apologies to the monster and Usyk. Bud Crawford has my vote for best pound for pound. Who was the best pound for pound before Bud? Canelo Alvarez, universally recognized that way. But it's not just these two guys, the last two best pound for pound fighters in the world. There haven't been that many. Before Canelo, who do you have? Before Canelo, Floyd or Andre Ward, Floyd Mayweather. Before, you could take the lineage back. There have only been, I don't know, 25 or 30 fighters who ever lived who you said that's the best pound for pound fighter in the world. These are two of them, the last two. And they're gonna fight in Las Vegas on September 13th. Canelo is 62-2 with 2 draws, 62-2. So was Marvin Hagler when Sugar Ray Leonard moved up to fight him and they produced one of the biggest spectacles in the history of boxing. This fight is a perfect storm. I could not be more excited to be a part of it.
It would be more difficult for Crawford to win Canelo's respect if even a small strain decreased his punching speed from his strong strikes. In addition to the physical effects, such an injury might have a psychological influence on him, causing him to be reluctant to give his all during interactions. In contrast to an experienced, any hesitancy might be expensive against a strong opponent like Canelo Alvarez. Crawford is going to have a difficult time if the ailment is genuine. There is absolutely little margin for mistake when facing a boxer of Canelo's ability and entering the ring with anything less than full health. Should Crawford be unable to fully rely on his shoulders for speed, power, and defensive reflexes, what was previously regarded as a perilous endeavor might become even more dangerous.
Feel his punching power as well. In the beginning, it's all the position balance. Like both guys are trying to get balance and trying to find their rhythm, understanding their distance to where they can punch and at the same time avoid getting hit. It takes Crawford a little bit more time than I would say Canelo to get right to it. Canelo, although he is a prolific counterpuncher, fantastic counterpuncher, he tends to find his spots a lot quicker. And the indication of that is when, if you look at any of the boxers that Canelo has faced, Trout, even Danny Jacobs, even when he fought against Charlo, you just check out the first round. He usually takes off, just feels the power, cruises, see what these guys know, couple of feints, level changes, gathering information, right? Crawford does the same and similar things. So I think the first round's gonna be a real calm and cautious round by both fighters. But in the second round, Canelo's gonna start applying that pressure, man. Pre-engagement with Crawford is a little bit more difficult than a Charlo, okay? Let me explain this. So pre-engagement is the movements before you get into that sweet spot, which is mid-range, to be able to let your hands go, right? Both guys are trying to counter each other's movement. Both guys are looking at each other's, hands, trying to anticipate what they believe is going to come next. During those periods right there, Crawford is one of the best at it, okay? Because he's smart, he's cerebral. Like a fighter to a fighter, we can feel when another fighter is like, oh, he's on my rhythm.
Keith Thurman has offered a frank assessment of the impending battle. He emphasized that Canelo Alvarez is still a very dangerous opponent, even though he is not unbeaten. Thurman asserts that although every boxer has shortcomings, this does not imply that anyone can take advantage of them. He emphasized that Canelo is a fighter who should not be undervalued because to his background, skill set, and fortitude. Boxing defeats don't always define a career. In Canelo's instance, they have just made him a more well-rounded fighter. Thurman underlined that the notion that Canelo is beatable does not ensure Crawford's victory, since Crawford needs to perform at a level he has never demonstrated against a fighter of Canelo's stature and skill level.
I think Bud gonna cook Canelo. I think he's gonna cook him. I think, Canelo a hell of a fighter, but I think Bud just got all the tools to beat him.
You don't think the weight difference is gonna be too big of an advantage?
I think y'all make that something, in certain fights,
Boxing makes it something, not us.
like if this was like a Benavidez, he's actually a lot bigger than Bud, so that would apply. But I feel like with Canelo, he's physically kind of big, but height wise, he's kind of small. So I don't think so. No, I think that's possible. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I think it's a possibility if Canelo gets to acting out of line and not understanding that Bud could crack too.
Widespread interest has been generated by recent video of Crawford and Canelo's altercation. Unexpectedly, Crawford looked bigger than anticipated and was nearly Canelo's size. Canelo has historically been recognized for his strength and stocky frame at higher weight classes, so this is unexpected. The appearance of given his physique, some have questioned how well Crawford has added mass. Some contend that size alone does not equate to strength or endurance, while others view this as evidence that Crawford has successfully bulked up. Whether he can naturally bear that additional weight in the ring without slowing down is the main obstacle. He may be more intimidating if he appears larger, but the real test will be how his body reacts after 12 rounds.
August of 2024. He spent from 2018 until August of 2024, right? 6 years at 147. Okay? And he's had 8 fights at 147, all knockouts, and 1 fight at 154, which was a unanimous decision over Israel Majumov. So you can make a case he's actually a welterweight jumping to 168, but he did make a pit stop at 54 and became a champion. So we have to acknowledge that, because that goes into his accomplishment bags. That makes him a 4-division champion. So the concern is Terence Crawford jumping up in weight. This is a weight class that Canelo Alvarez has now been in since 2020. He's been at this weight for 5 years when he made his debut against Caleb Smith. But remind you, he fought against Danny Jacobs at 160 in 2019. Then in November of 2019, he jumped to 75 and fought Sergey Kovalev, then came back down to 68. So it's doable, right? But with that said, everybody's concerned with the weight and how Terence Crawford puts on the weight. So let's explain it. As you see the new photos that Terence Crawford has leaked, Terence Crawford has lean bulked. Okay, as you see here, Terence Crawford there, right? He has lean bulked. Okay, he put the bulk on in his weight, in his legs, and in his shoulders to be able to take the punch.
Terence Crawford should approach his battle with Canelo Alvarez, according to Timothy Bradley Jr., who is well known for his championship career and astute analysis. Bradley believes that pressing the action early is Crawford's best chance of winning. He emphasized that Canelo is a boxer who steadily gains strength and masters control and rhythm as the rounds go by. This implies that Crawford's safety increases with the length of the battle. Bradley emphasized that Crawford has the ring knowledge, speed, and precision to stop Canelo's momentum if he puts pressure on him in the first few rounds. Crawford might surprise the Mexican star and take charge by taking chances early and refusing to let Canelo set the tempo. Bradley also emphasized that Crawford cannot realistically save strength for the endgame because the extra weight he is carrying could deplete his energy in subsequent rounds. Rather, he advised Crawford to try to put an end to things before exhaustion sets in by relying on his innate explosiveness and quick reactions. Bradley believes that Crawford's immediate imposition and Canelo's defeat before the bout devolves into more complex territory is the safest and most shrewd course of action.
When the fight got made, I've always fancied Crawford. I just think it's different. I think there's something about him. I think if you add what Crawford's good at, his brain, he can switch. He's very good as a southpaw. His judgment of distance is fantastic. His punch picking is fantastic. He's got good legs. When you add what, and he can pop. I mean, listen, he might. I'm not saying he's got the power to hurt Canelo, but he might have the power to surprise Canelo a little bit and just sting him and just. But when you look at what Crawford does well, and then I look at this version of Canelo, as Canelo's got on, his punch rate's gone down. His feet have never been the fastest, but he's always had good placement of feet. His feet aren't the fastest, and he loads up. He loads up, and he don't really like boxing at a pace. So I kind of look at that and I think Crawford can manage his way through the fight to win it on points. I think he can manage moments, tough moments. When Canelo detonates a big shot on him, he's going to know about it because Crawford's been hurt before. And Crawford gets hit. He does get hit. That's why he's exciting. But he does get hit. So that means that Canelo could land on him. I just think that Canelo will land a bomb and Crawford knows enough to tie up, to get off at an angle.
Al Stanton, Terence Crawford's sparring partner, has provided an insider's viewpoint that runs counter to some of the worries expressed. Stanton observed that Crawford has demonstrated more than amazing strength during training. He said Crawford was strong, nimble, and able to defend himself against opponents who were physically bigger. He claims that Crawford has easily adapted to the demands of heavier opponents and does not appear to be struggling with the extra weight. Fans who worry that Crawford would struggle are reassured to hear this from someone who has walked the same path as him. Stanton's comments imply that Crawford is embracing the challenge without losing his essence as a fighter because of his innate athleticism and work ethic.
Crawford, his composure going to be like the moment a punch lands on him from Canelo.
Are you kidding me? Take that question back.
Yeah, why?
Because you're talking about Crawford.
Yeah.
He's
the weight classes.
He's the most composed guy. Yeah. What, you don't think he'll be prepared? You think it'll be a shock to him? No. You think it'll be, oh my God, I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. That ain't happening with Crawford. Yeah. He knows exactly what he's getting himself and why. He's the one looking for it. He don't have nobody with a gun behind him saying you got to go do this. He's the one. And look, it's a tremendous challenge because Canelo's a tremendous fighter and bigger and strong, and he can obviously he can punch and he can time you and he can do all the things that have made him so special. There's no doubt about it. But we're forgetting about those things I just talked about with Crawford just because he's smaller. We're forgetting that. He'll come up with a game plan where he won't let the other guy use his size. Do you remember somebody named Manny Pacquiao when he was making his bones, the first time he hit the big stage? He got all these great fighters here. It was with a guy named Oscar De La Hoya, a hell of a fighter. And everyone said, oh, he'd be too small for him. And then I said, I got to say, I got one right. I said, how about Manny's going to be too fast for him? Oh, Teddy, guys, how about he's going to be too quick? How about he's going to be like a couple of those mosquitoes and gnats at a barbecue and disrupt the whole damn barbecue? How about that? Yeah. Well, how about Crawford disrupts the whole damn barbecue?
Sean Porter, a former welterweight champion, also offered his evaluation, emphasizing Crawford's handling of his weight gain. Crawford has added pounds gradually and deliberately rather than rushing into bulking up, according to Porter. He said that after initially gaining about 10 pounds, Crawford put on an additional 10 to make sure at each step, the body had time to adapt. Porter claims that this methodical technique is the best way to manage weight changes since it spares the body from needless strain. Porter noted that Crawford's speed and movement have not been compromised because he is bearing the burden equally. This type of balance is necessary for a boxer whose fighting style depends on agility and sharpness to compete against a veteran like Canelo.
It's just a fact. Canelo has fought the who's who. Sure, were all of them in their prime? No, but that's not his fault. He moved up in weight to fight some people. He sought out difficult opponents and matchups. You know, same way you're like, oh, Floyd didn't necessarily fight some of the best names in his resume at the best time in their career. Not his fault. Floyd went up and sought people out. So Canelo's sitting there like, yeah, I don't give a shit. And he's pretty much the only guy that can really say that right now.
I feel I'm the best, and that's it. I don't focus on if the people say or put me in the first position, I'm the best. I feel I'm the best. I'm doing because I love boxing.
I called Canelo out because, like I said, he the last great fighter amongst the era that surpassed us. This is my mega fight. This is my moment.
You didn't have much interest in this Crawford fight. You were saying that there wasn't much in it for you, and you pointed out that people will say that he was too small. What changed?
I think he's one of the best fighters for more fun. No, he accomplished a lot of things too. Mexican with the American fighter is always big.
When he fights you at Allegiant Stadium,
Canelo's like, I knew the money was crazy. That's why he's like, yeah, I knew that the Mexican fighter versus the American fighter. Canelo can draw Allegiant Stadium. That's what it is. I mean, yes, there's the element of greatness involved as well. But Canelo knew he was getting a bag for this. Canelo knew that Terence had to do all the difficult stuff. Let's be honest about it. This is why I favor Canelo in the...
That concludes the video for today. Keep an eye out. Till the next time.